And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Smart Tank Revolution, where we always kick out at 2. I am your host, flying solo today, Mr. Donnie Wonderful, aka Big Time Donnie, and I'm here just to rant and rave and be the tangential tyrant I am. And we're gonna get right into this. And for the first time, as a soloist today, shout out to Mr. Joey Business, my colleague and cohort, I'm going to reference something. Yes, I have the Google machine open because I need to reference a comment made by one of our supporters. Let me open this up here, sorry. By Chris Thornycroft. Shout out to Chris Thornycroft. There's a video detailing the main event of All Out 2022. CM Punk defeats Jon Moxley at All Out, which Joey Business did a remarkable job reviewing. And I guess from there, we all know what happened after that. But it was brought to my attention a comment under the video by Mr. Chris Thornycroft. Again, thank you for your input. He makes a lot of points, and before I actually get into it, I was thinking this. If you're Cody Rhodes right now, this has to be the biggest I told you so, or sense of validity. Like, Cody Rhodes really looks like a genius now. Leaving WWE the way he did, coming to AEW in an executive position, leaving that executive position behind to go back to WWE, even when Vince was there. And you know what happened with Vince. Now the game is running everything, and that may be a great thing for him. But as far as the subtle shots he was taking when he was with AEW, let's pray that Hunter didn't take any of that stuff too personally, and that Hunter does what's best for business, as he says. So it's interesting, but like right now, if you're Cody Rhodes, you're a genius. Like, you saw all this. This legitimizes everything. And the crazy thing about that is, in Chris's comment, he mentions that. And actually, well, we'll go over it sentence for sentence. It's there for you all to see. But this was in regards to the fallout from All Out. And the thing that caught my eye when I first saw this was that Chris used their real names to open it up. Not CM Punk and Jon Moxley, Phil Brooks and Jonathan Good. So Chris says, Phil Brooks said something in a promo that John Good that I think has been a law that, let me start that over. Sorry. I got to put on the specs. Phil Brooks said something in a promo to John Good that I think has been lost on the fanboys. You can be the heart and soul, and I'll be the dollars and cents. Damn! How about that? So let's focus on that right there. I think a lot of material in that promo. I don't think CM Punk pre-writes his stuff. I think, he likely has the bullet points of what he wants to say. But now, in retrospect, I'm thinking that a lot of that were subtle shots, subliminal shots to the EVPs and Hangman Adam Page, because it makes sense. It makes total sense now. And I think aside from when CM Punk went into business for himself in response to Adam Page, before the media scrum, where we got a lot of context of his displeasures with what's going on, I think he communicated a lot of that through these promos. I think that went obviously directed to Jon Moxley, but that blanket covered a lot of bodies. And I can see it now. So it's either that or we're reading into it too much. But Chris goes on to say Maybe a sign of the time, but everyone is so emotional about everything right now. Granted, nobody wants corporations running rampant and hurting people like they are, but AEW is a business, yes. And that gets lost on a lot of people when their entitled indie darling isn't on top. Wow. And I'm pretty sure, very well spoken and articulated, Chris. I'm pretty sure that indie darling, if you're not talking about John Moxley, I'm pretty sure that for some reason when I read that I thought Kenny Omega, and instead of indie I just threw New Japan in my head, and I actually do wanna talk about Kenny Omega briefly here, and I'm pretty sure I'll reference him again because he's somewhere along this comment here too. But Kenny came back with the Young Bucks, and they were the trios champions. I mean, the writings for that was on the wall, and that's not to say that that was a bad booking decision. I didn't have a problem with it. The problem I had was after that match. I thought it was real cocky, and I thought that he was extremely arrogant to look right into the camera and dare the boys to top the match that Kenny and the Bucks had versus Hangman Adam Page in the Dark Order. And the reason why is because there's different schools of thought when it comes to what wrestling is. You guys went on first. How dare you say that when you have FTR on the same card? And in my opinion, FTR and Wardlow had a better trios match or triple threat match than Kenny Omega, the Bucks, Hangman Adam Page, and Dark Order. One of them was more of a traditional style wrestling match where it told a story and there was ring psychology. And there'll be another video on how we personally define what ring psychology is, because that's something that also gets lost in the sauce. Hangman Adam Page, Dark Order, and versus the EVPs, or the Elite, we'll just call them that. EVPs or the Elite, synonymous. That was a good match, but it was spot heavy. It reminded me of, like a classic Hardy Boys match, only Jeff doing 7 Swanton dives instead of his over and under like 2 to 3. And yes, that stuff gets the oohs and ahs because it's amazing. Like, they're all completely athletic. Amazingly athletic, amazingly talented, but it definitely is contrived. I mean, there's no way in the world, in a real situation, that I'm going to stand there, dazed and bewildered, and wait for you to bounce off the other rope to do a front flip on me. So back in the day, I used to like the baseball slide because that's real. Like I could see that it's something that everyone can do, and if you missed and oftentimes people would dodge the baseball slide. You're coming out feet first, and you'll usually slide in through the bottom rope if you miss to a hard punch, and you go to the floor. If somebody's not standing in their right place when Kenny or the Bucks or anybody dives outside of the ring, that could potentially be the end of their career. And Vince McMahon used to call it high risk maneuvers back in the New Generation era, and we praised them. Yeah, high risk maneuvers are, they are that, and they're entertaining to watch. But there's no way in the world that you can sustain a wrestling style like that. Chris Jericho, in my opinion, was kind of on the borderline of that, because he's very athletic and agile, and he can do like the lion salts, but guys, do you remember? And every time he attempts the lion salt, I'm praying that he gets it that he gets it all, because there was that I in the pandemic episodes of Dynamite where that lion salt didn't look too crisp, to say the least. But like it's just, like that style of wrestling. There's not a lot of longevity in it, and I mean, if you're above a certain size, maybe the Young Bucks are lighter. Kenny Omega, not so much. I think I you know there's been a plethora of ankle and knee injuries, I'm sure, because like when you're a bigger guy, it's hard to do that. Rey Mysterio is an anomaly to me. This is going on. I mean, Rey's in his 40s, I'm assuming. Like he's been doing it for a while, but even his moves are more less daredevilish. I mean, the 619 he can do, but like go back to the 90s ECW Ray. Look what he was doing. Go back to when they had the cruiserweight explosion in WCW in the mid to late 90s, 96 on. Look at what Ray was doing then. A much lighter, younger Ray. It's a different style for him now. Like longevity is an important thing, and I just don't think that style lasts. If somebody doesn't catch you the right way, that's essentially an injury timeout. But let's get back to what Chris pointed out. Oh, right here. Okay. The job of the EVPs isn't to create their own fan club for themselves. It's to help Tony Khan make money from All Elite Wrestling. Absolutely. Even though you guys are friends, I agree with that wholeheartedly, 100%. I think the only issue that I've had was waiting for the rubber match between FTR and the Young Bucks. Not to mention, so we're gonna go back. I didn't like how they utilized the young FTR when they first got there, and I thought that FTR and the Bucks. I think they had a match that was too early, if I'm not mistaken. I would have let it marinate just a little bit. Or so FTR lost to the Young Bucks, and there was no return match. And up until that point, that was a dream match for us to watch. And I think they could have really milked that cow some more, because I thought that, I don't remember what pay-per-view that was, but they had a really, really good match together when they wrestled for the tag belts. And I really think that program should have went on some more. I mean, they're spy versus spy in every sense of it. I mean, FTR, their name, if you don't know why they're called FTR, do your research and you'll see the Young Buck connection. But yeah, like that, there was a few, not mishaps, because I think that they were able to rebound fairly well, but there's just, like some of those things that I said, okay, that this must be the decision of the EVPs. And again, like, I didn't think it was a smart one. It's a livable one, but I think that Cody Rhodes, being raised in the business, probably would have objected to that and pitched the other way and got shut down. So I guess that's why I let off saying Cody Rhodes really must have the grin on his face saying, yeah, I told you so. I'm going to skip down a little bit to Chris made a great analogy here. He said that, look, check this out. All of the Bucks, Omega, Moxley, and Page would fit in very well in 1999/2000 ECW when they lost all their top wrestlers and just did silly skits on TNN. Wow. Wow. I remember that. So back when ECW was a long lost hidden treasure, it came here in Boston, in the city. It came on the Spanish network, the Spanish channel, at 1 in the morning. I'll never forget my uncle and then somebody else from school. Kid name was Walter. Those were the first two to ever tell me about ECW. And Uncle Vincent was my youngest uncle. Was 19 years older than me. So he was probably in his mid 30s when he told me. Yeah, around there. I remember him saying, "Hey, have you heard of Extreme Championship Wrestling?" And he used to really emphasize Extreme. And then hearing it from Walter, Walter's the reason why I always remembered that Spike Dudley's finisher was the acid drop, because he swore by it. And the acid drop did look great. But yeah, when ECW came on at 1 in the morning for an hour, it was 1 a.m. to 2, Sunday mornings technically. Like you literally had to make it a priority to catch that show. I remember like Mad TV used to come on. I'm dating myself. Mad TV used to come on from 11 to 12, and then I'm twiddling my thumbs. I don't know whether to play Nintendo 64, Sega Genesis, or whatever console I had for an hour, but we absolutely, we counted down every second until 1 until we got ECW. And then when it finally came on TNN, we felt like it was a home run, but it wasn't the same ECW. It was a stripped down version of ECW. The pay-per-views were still consistently great. And, like Jerry Lynn and Steve Corino, like those guys were still there, and they still had a decent product, but I know like a lot of guys had left. I don't think there was any more Mike Awesome. Taz was over at WWE. Like a lot of their top guys had left. And no New Jack. We love New Jack. RP. We love New Jack. But I thought that was funny that Chris said that they would fit in that specific era of ECW when they lost all their top wrestlers. Great job, Chris. Great job, Chris. Listen, I'm gonna have to print and laminate this comment. This is absolutely remarkable, and we encourage all of our supporters. If you're listening to this, please chime in on any of these videos. We love this stuff. All right, so let's see. He goes down. ECW used to be a place where you went, just like AEW. Okay. How about this one? AEW is trying to be a cross between ECW and WCW in 1999 and 2000. That says a lot, especially on the Turner side of things. WCW between that time, do you guys remember who was the booker? Was Kevin Nash still the booker then? I don't know. Or Vince Russo, especially in 2000s. You got the Vince Russo machine that was, hot shotting everything, and like it was a wow factor for the first minute, but then you can't keep doing that over and over and over and over and over again. It was legitimately the Jerry Springer show on wrestling TV. So yeah, I get that. Here we go. Here, how about this part? CM Punk's idol is Bret Hart, and it shows. Respectable. You guys know how I feel about Bret. And if you don't know, I believe that Bret Hart is the greatest wrestler of all time to ever lace up a pair of boots. Let's see. He says, from there, I can only imagine how Arn Anderson, Sting, Jerry Lynn, Regal, and the other legends who takes this stuff seriously must feel. Add Jim Ross in there. Because I think that you can hear the disdain in Jim Ross's commentary from all of this. That group of people, Arn Anderson, Jerry Lynn, Regal, threw Sting in there. Sting, Sting been in the business for a while. And I know he takes it serious. So, yeah, but Jim Ross. I was about to say Jerry Lawler. Jim Ross. How about this? When the concluding two sentences, they're answering to a bunch of kids who don't know their asses from holes in the ground. Kenny Omega / Tyson Smith makes Andy Kaufman look like a serious wrestler. All right, hold on, Chris. Now, I get what you mean. I honestly do. I think that Kenny Omega is talented. Everybody's gonna point to his matches with Okada. Yeah. So it definitely is there. But I think the disconnect that he had, and I think it was an emotional one, because they did have the talent meeting where Kenny said, I think he wouldn't sign 80% of you. Well, like, if you're going to say something like that, then we need receipts. Who you talking about, Kenny? Who you talking about, Kenny? Kente. Mr. Omega, who you talking about? I think that the roster itself is convoluted with great wrestlers. When's the last time you saw Sean Archer? Where's he at? There's way too many chefs in the kitchen here. Like, literally. I just want an omelet, bro. That's probably a terrible analogy, but what I'm saying, like, their roster is full of potential. I don't think that anybody was lowballing it, half-assing it, three-quarters-assing it, whatever. I don't think that was the issue here. I think that we were shown a shiny new project back in 2019. Like, those first 5 to 10 episodes of Dynamite was the wrestling fans, the Smarks' dream. And then we got to see repetition. And it became stale. And then the WWE guys came in, the Bryan Danielsons, and we got to see wrestling again. That meant something. That we're not just diving off of shit. We're not just doing things with no meaning. If Bryan Danielson dives off of anything, we talk about that the next day. We talk about that when we recap the match. We don't do that when the Young Bucks dive off of anything. They do it too much. And I'm not picking on the Bucks. You know what I mean? I'm not picking on them. I mean, hey, listen, Ray Phoenix dies off of stuff all the time. You know, like, it's a style, but we don't talk about that anymore. Like, think about the first time you saw a shooting star press. I know that move was performed before I seen it now, but I remember the very first time I saw a shooting star press was 1996 SummerSlam, Wild Man Mark Merrow versus Goldust. And if you YouTube that, listen to the crowd when he does that. But now everybody does it. So it's not the same, Billy Kidman was doing it in WCW shortly after that, if not before. But, like, the first time that I recorded seeing the shooting star press was then, 1996. And then after that, like, it's still a great move, but the wow factor isn't there anymore. And I think what works in wrestling, that's why they call it the psychology. Remember, I touched on it earlier, and we are going to eventually do a video on it. The psychology of wrestling, the fundamentals of it, you can always get back to the basics because they work. Psychology works on our minds. So we're conditioned for these things. And if you can get us psychologically, we're invested in it. That's why the days of wanting to jump the guardrail to save your baby face, if we could ever get back, I would love to be at a wrestling show where there's that much emotion to have somebody want to jump the guardrail and want to try to attack. If that were to happen to MJF, that would be the greatest thing ever. Because he'll know how to spin that, and that's the heat he actually goes for. But I think that in a match is important. That's why I believe And I'm going to say this unbiasedly, and I truly mean this, but that's why I believe that Bret Hart matches age 10 times better than Shawn Michaels matches. And that's not a diss against HBK. I really mean that wholeheartedly. Go look at Bret, look at his selling. Babyface Bret, obviously. But look at his selling. Just let's pull out any any. I don't obviously remember them all, but 1993 Bret Hart. How about that? Look at those and tell me if they couldn't fit on today's Raw, today's WrestleMania, today's All Out, today's Revolution, Dynamite, Rampage, SmackDown, whatever it is. I challenge you. I challenge you. I could be wrong, but I doubt it. I have no idea how long this has been recording for, but I'll tell you this. I had fun. I can go on. We're about 26 minutes now. Okay, so I'm going to put a pin in this because I'm going to talk to my colleague, Mr. Joey Business, about this very, very, very soon. And we'll have a follow-up to it as well. But if you made it this far, thank you very much for listening. This was fun. I have a microphone at my home and my office, in the office, at work, just so I can go on rants like this. But anyway, again, shout out to Chris Thornycroft. Thank you for leaving that comment. Very introspective and retrospective, so much so that I had to plug up the microphone and actually talk about it, and it inspired this little tangential rant right here. So we encourage all of our supporters and listeners to do the same. I am Donnie Wonderful. This was fun, and we'll be back with another one. Also, check out the playlist and for the essentials. We have other playlists coming down the line, but I believe Diamond Dallas Page will be next on the essentials. May or may not. Who knows? We have, go back and listen to, if you didn't watch All Out or Clash at the Castle, take a listen to the ratings and reviews on that done by Joey Business. He did a phenomenal job. And with that being said, I think I've spoken enough. I will chat with you guys sooner than later.